Last month, I put out my most ambitious video to date. This video uses set theory as a lens through which to understand gender theory. And the comparison seemed to really resonate with a bunch of people. In fact, people both with and without a math background, which is exactly what I was going for. But there is one person's comments that have really stuck with me. During a live stream where Twitch streamer Rhizome reacted to my video, one member of the chat had very strong opinions.
I know Gödel's or Gödel's. How do we say that? Incompleteness theorem, and this guy really trying to draw an equivalent between it and gender theory? Yes, that is what's happening right now.
Let me make this clear. Numbers and math aren't relatable to something like gender theory.
Oh, is that what you think? I wasn't sure from your first comment that that's how you felt. Thank you for clarifying, though.
I'm sorry. It's just it really triggers me when someone abuses science or math to support their worldview.
I don't think I abused math at any point.
At Crysa, is this your video?
Yes.
At Crysa, please don't do this anymore. Math has nothing to do with gender theory and you'll only hurt the progress of both.
What was wrong with it?
At Crysa.
Oof. Now, I love constructive feedback. In fact, Rhizome gave me a ton of good pointers during the stream.
I think maybe like less like you is like fine too. Like it would keep me more interested.
On the other hand, sometimes you can get feedback that is less than constructive. But we gotta remember the person behind the keyboard. This chatter thinks I did something academically irresponsible, and that's certainly worth taking seriously. Now, let's set aside the fact that this person's first chat message came about 75% of the way through the video, and they didn't actually engage with any of the mathematical ideas, and they didn't rebut a single point that I made. So forgetting all of that, let's pretend that they had a serious grievance. So my assumption here is that the person didn't get the video. Not to suggest that they couldn't understand the mathematical concepts, but maybe I'm just not as good a math teacher as I might hope. Now, of course, in the video, before I get into the gender math, I even acknowledge that we are trying to formalize an unquantifiable part of the human experience. And I'm going to borrow a page from our favorite debate bros, broads, and brigadiers and try to formalize an unquantifiable part of the human experience. Keyword, try. But perhaps it wasn't entirely clear all the implications of doing such a thing. The point I'm making is that if we want to mathematize things like gender, we have to understand that the model's usefulness will only extend as far as our understanding of the math. A perfect example, one in fact that I've wanted to talk about for a long time now, is Riley Grace Rochong's mathematical rebuttal of gender self-identification. So in the now infamous RGR Demon Mama What is a Woman debate, make sure you watch my video on that, Ms. Rochong suggests that self-ID is an insufficient model for understanding gender, and she uses a mathematical example to demonstrate this.
Okay, so let's just take a basic formula. Let's say that x equals x plus y. Okay? That's the formula we've got.
Sure.
Okay, so if we have that situation, or I guess we have to make it, let's make it y plus x because it'd just be easier to write out. All right, what that means is that if we have x equals y plus x, that means that necessarily x can also equal y plus, and because x equals y plus x, that means that this would also equal y plus x. Okay?
Okay.
And then necessarily, we get into another problem, because now we still have x there. So we can have x equals y plus parentheses y plus parentheses y plus x, two parentheses. Okay?
Sure.
And then if we go beyond there, I mean, I hope that you see where this is going. You can just dot, 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 dot.
But the problem with this analogy is that Miss Rochong doesn't seem to understand the math she's trying to use. X equals y plus x is actually a super simple equation to solve. It's just y equals 0, which, funny enough, is known as the additive identity. If we could somehow distill woman down to a number, it would quite literally equal identity plus woman.
All right. So if we're going to say that woman
Sure.
equals substitute y for identification
Okay.
plus woman.
And yes, this comparison does seem to suggest that identity is nothing, and identities also exist with subtraction, multiplication, and division. And now the metaphor is just getting watered down. So unfortunately for her, Miss Rochong failed to make a meaningful mathematical analogy. But let's say her debate opponent had noticed and pointed out that actually the math she's using is a great demonstration of how self-ID works. Well, that wouldn't necessarily make her opponent correct. Just because mathematical identities exist does not mean that gender self-ID is guaranteed to work. And just because Gödel proved his incompleteness theorems in 1931, that's right, Twitch chatter, you want to get pedantic, it's theorems, plural, doesn't guarantee that xenogenders are valid. But if you think that's the point I was making, maybe you just don't understand how analogies work. It can be useful to mathematize concepts we study in the humanities, but it's not foolproof. And that's the point I was making. We can't even mathematize all of math, so of course we can't do that with all of gender. It's silly to ask a question like, are all genders valid? Because even if we were somehow able to come up with a yes or a no, what would those answers even mean? And so if we are going to entertain such a question, let's take it just about as far as we can. Let's talk about uncomputable numbers and radians and fuzzy sets, which, by the way, are already used in linguistics. Look, I just think math is fun, and there's some really cool esoteric concepts in there. And life, it can be tough to figure out, and there's some really cool esoteric concepts in there, so I made a fun video. Sue me. Actually, don't sue me, I didn't do anything wrong. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, thank you so much for subscribing. I got a lot of recent subscribers from the previous video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stick around, check out some of my other videos. Spread them around on Facebook, Discord, Twitter, you know the deal. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.